Namaste everyone. Welcome back to Heart, show organized by Zenaverse, and I am your host, Dr. Vishal Saxena. Today we are diving into one of the most powerful as well as misunderstood topic in global economics, de-dollarization and the gold price linkage. Before we get into the complexities, let me set the stage with a simple reminder from the history. If we go back into the history in 1947, when India got independence, 3.30 Indian rupees was equal to $1. And gold was stable and it was predictable also. But what happened? As the decade started moving in, the dollar started picking up. And finally and gradually, it became a global currency for the people. And similarly, gold became a political instrument, not just a commodity. And today, the world is finally questioning on the dollar dominance. Everywhere you will see people talking about dollar dominance. And this conversation, I'm going to take it much deeper with our guest, Shri Manish Agarwal ji. Manish ji, namaskar.
नमस्कार।
कैसे हैं आप?
बिल्कुल बढ़िया।
Manish ji, before I go deep, I will try to introduce you. And if anything is there, you can also say a few words about yourself. Our guest for today, as I had said, is Shri Manish Agarwal ji. And Manish Agarwal ji basically comes with a highly respected financial strategist with over 2 decades of leadership across global organization. From managing daily operations of a 500 crore company to directing 700 members team at Dell. By leading strategist, research and innovative in Deloitte, his journey is remarkable. Served as chief operating officer with Ujas Energy Limited, built and led large global team at Deloitte, Dell, Citibank, and Polaris, being a visiting faculty with SP Jain Institute, and he has been traveling for this institute in Dubai and Singapore. And through this, he has made his main tagline, wealth preserves in my dharma, return generation is my karma. This is what Manish ji's tagline is. Very nice tagline. Wealth preservation is my dharma. Return generation is my karma. Welcome Manish ji to the show once again. And I would like if you could introduce yourself a bit. So, and then we will start the show.
नमस्कार, धन्यवाद विशाल जी। Thanks for that wonderful introduction. Essentially, I have served in corporates from 1995 till about 2018 in different roles in global multinational corporations like Citibank, Dell, and Deloitte. My last corporate assignment was as Chief Operating Officer of a solar energy firm, which is listed. And in between, I had a very interesting stint
Mm-hmm.
as a visiting faculty in SP Jain Institute of Global Management in Singapore and Dubai. In
Wow.
addition, I also was a visiting faculty at IIM Indore, IIM Udaipur, and IIM Raipur. Uh,
Right.
and now, of course, I operate as an independent financial advisor, helping people with their personal financial investments and also with insurance.
Okay. Manish ji, as I said in the beginning, starting, when India got independence, Indian rupees against dollars. $1 is equal to 3.3 Indian rupees. What happened after 1947 allowed US to gain power while INR weakened gradually.
So we need to understand that by 1947, it was just the aftermath of World War II, where almost entire Europe and Japan were fully destroyed, and the rest of the colonies
Mm-hmm.
of Britain were coming out of their colonial rule.
Correct.
And they were coming out of the colonial rule probably because the British did not have the wherewithal, and the European powers did not have the wherewithal to hold these colonies, which were anyway getting restive with freedom movements in several parts of the world, including ours, which is India.
Mm-hmm.
So, in some sense, the locus of power was shifting from Europe to America because America was not destroyed during World War II. The American
Mm-hmm.
real estate was the war was fought on all real estate outside US. So US was protected by the Atlantic, and therefore it did not get physically destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Also, America became the leading global power at this point in time because all war requires a large supply of men and material. And
Correct.
US being in that position where it supplied a lot of men and material, uh, and without being destroyed itself. And as a result, a lot of gold moved from Europe to America to pay for this war. So much
Okay.
so that by year 2010, also Britain
Mhm.
was paying its loans taken during this World War II.
Okay.
So it was very natural that the global currency shift was also happening from the pound to the dollar. Just as the power shift was happening from Europe to America, the global currency shift was also happening from the pound to the dollar.
Okay.
And in 1945, there was, or some period, sometime thereabout, there was something called the Bretton Woods Agreement.
Mhm.
It was signed in a place called Bretton Woods outside Connecticut in US.
Oh, wow. This is very great insight for us also.
So essentially, what it did was it placed the dollar at the center of things, and uh, gold was pegged to the dollar, and all other currencies were pegged to the dollar, which included,
Okay.
of course, the Indian currency. And remember, all economic activity at that time was concentrated in the US sphere of influence, which is Japan, World War II, all World War II participants, which is essentially Europe and America. And countries like India had hardly any say or economic heft to even participate. They were the takers of the system, not the uh, uh,
Providers.
providers or designers of that particular system. This moved on, this Bretton Woods, because it pegged gold to a certain value
Correct.
in terms of dollars. And something very interesting happened when after the Vietnam War started. So America needed a lot of money to
Hmm.
finance the war.
Correct.
So theoretically, as part of the Bretton Woods, say by 1965 and 67, any person could take $35 to a US bank and say, please give me 1 ounce of gold.
Aha.
Now, they made it practically difficult, but this was a theoretical formulation behind it, that the dollar was pegged at $35 per ounce of gold. And it was a fixed one.
Okay.
Now, during the Vietnam War, America needed so much money to fight the war.
Hmm.
They ended up printing a lot of money, and people figured out that this is not going to work. So what they
Correct.
started doing was to exchange their dollars and pounds and this thing
Gold.
for gold. And America also figured out that this is not going to work. So in
Hmm.
1971,
Hmm.
there was what is called the Nixon peg, which where what they did was something extraordinarily smart, which held the monetary architecture of the world for the next 50 years. So what
Correct.
they did was they went to Saudi Arabia, which was the largest producer of oil,
Hmm.
and they told them that you sell oil only in dollars, US dollars.
Okay.
And when you will sell oil in US dollar, as a result of doing this favor, we will protect the monarchy, which means the defense of Saudi Arabia became the responsibility of.
US.
Remember, Saudi Arabia is more threatened by internal folks than by, at that time at least,
Correct.
more threatened by
Hmm.
internal folks than external folks. Also, the agreements, what it did was it said that all the dollars that Saudi Arabia will generate will get reinvested in the United States. In effect, it is like buying something, giving something which we call as a dollar as a currency, and then saying, I will take the currency back and keep it in US. It worked for almost 50 years. As a result of this oil pegged to the dollar, and then they
Hmm.
de-linked the gold price with the dollar. They said, sorry, we cannot honor this arrangement of $35 to a ounce of gold. Now, no longer will we honor this pledge of $35 to 1 ounce of gold.
Correct.
As a result, the gold price from 1973, I think, when the Nixon peg was announced, and not 1971, which I mistakenly said earlier, in 1980, the price moved from 35 US dollars to 800 US dollars at its peak in about 1980.
Oh, wow. This is a great, great, great insight. And yes, sir, you can carry on, sir.
So, so therefore, in some sense, you can say the dollar adjusted to the, I can say in some ways the fakery that was happening
Mm-hmm.
uh, in the dollar monetary peg.
Mm-hmm.
By 1980, I mean, and this was also, remember, the time when, as a result of the Yom Kippur War,
Mm-hmm.
Arabs stopped their supply of oil to US, and US started seeing a lot of queues on
Streets.
their streets and on their oil pumps.
Correct.
So by 1980, the America was in a very, very bad financial shape. And then came Ronald Reagan, who sort of deregulated the economy and sort of set right a lot of things that were plaguing the Americans' financial power. And this, by this time, also what happened is because oil was traded only in dollars, other countries needed dollars. So the demand of dollars started going up, and kept on going up for a very, very long time.
Still going on.
Still, now the dollar demand has come down, but
Mm-hmm.
or rather, there are attempts to reduce the demand of dollar. But
Mm-hmm.
time the demand of the dollars kept on going up, and the U.S. government, in its started running huge deficits with the rest of the world to finance this dollar boom. In other words, they were buying a lot of material from the rest of the world. They almost outsourced all their IT to India and
Mm-hmm.
manufacturing to China.
Correct.
So all they are sitting over is a piece of paper which they call the dollar, and that has become very, very powerful simply because the rest of the world needs to trade,
Try.
and the system has been set up in such a way that you will need dollars for the foreseeable future. So because of this rise in the price or in the value of the dollar, because dollar number now, remember, is not backed by anything. Earlier it was backed by 1 ounce of gold. $35 were backed by
I've
one
got
ounce of gold.
ounce
Now
of
it is
gold.
not backed by anything. It's called a fiat currency.
White currency.
Fiat
Yes.
currency is something which is ordained by the regulation, by the order of the central bank.
Correct.
So fiat currency, which does not have any backing behind it of any commodity like gold,
Mm-hmm.
is a inherently unstable system. And in the long run, if you look at the history of the world, there have been 800 fiat currencies in the world.
Okay.
Ultimately, they all reach the value of zero.
Mm-hmm.
So today, we are sitting over something very interesting.
Correct, sir. But whatever the insight which you have given at present to us, I'm sure some people are knowing, some people who would be listening to the show, they will get a deep insight how finally it became a global currency, step by step, how they made it a global currency. A very great insight which you have given, Agarwal Sahab. Then, based on this, since we are talking about Saudi Arabia and the oil countries, I would like to ask you one more question. Like, if you see Dubai, they have pegged the dollar as 3.685 and they're neither shifting it up nor it is going down. What made them do so?
See, it provides stability to the financial system.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, but that is possible only in certain conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Economic criteria is that if you fix the exchange rate,
Mm-hmm.
then you cannot control interest rates. So there is a certain monetary linkage between interest rate in the economy,
Okay.
the exchange rate, and the
Mm-hmm.
fiscal deficit, and the
Okay.
trade, what we call as trade deficit.
Okay.
Let me give you an example of India. India started having a kind of a floating currency. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Floating means its value is dependent on how it is traded in the market.
Correct.
Uh, so in 1991, we were in a situation where we needed a lot of money. I mean, our
Correct.
trade deficit was very, very adverse, which means we had almost no dollars. We had only some 3 weeks of imports worth of, and we desperately needed dollars. And to get those dollars, we had to mortgage about 358 tons of gold under the Chandrasekhar government, which flew from India to
US.
UK at that.
UK. Okay.
And it was kept there. And in turn, we got a few $1 billion. From those $1 billion, then, so essentially the point is, if you're currency is floating,
Mm-hmm.
then then you cannot, then your interest rates cannot be determined really by the central bank, because it will have an adverse impact on the, I mean, the two have to be in sync.
Mm-hmm.
And dollar has kept on strengthening because we call it the reserve currency. Reserve currency means that it's almost the currency of the world used in international trade. About currently, as of now, as we speak, about uh, more than 55% of all foreign currencies held by different nation states is the US dollar. So now something very interesting is happening
Correct, sir.
that relates to politics. Somewhat to
Mm-hmm.
politics and the financial decision making that has happened in the US.
Mm-hmm.
One is that US has been running deficits year over year for almost half quarter of a century.
Correct.
As a result, their public debt has become very high. It's about $38 trillion as we speak, which will never,
Correct.
except by printing money.
Mm-hmm.
Effectively, what they have done is they have financed all their overconsumption by printing dollars.
Okay.
That's the net effect, because dollar is not backed by anything. They don't have.
Mm.
So essentially, a lot of dollars are now floating in the world. China holds about now about $700 billion worth of what is called US Treasury, which is considered to be the safest financial instrument in the world, safest and the most liquid financial instrument in the world.
Correct.
Japan is sitting over almost 1.1 trillion, which is $1,100 billion worth of US Treasuries. Now, during the Ukraine war, something very interesting happened from US. The Biden administration, what it did was it seized all dollar denominated assets of Russia.
Correct.
Earlier, they had done it to Iran.
Mm. Sanction.
Uh, but more than sanction, it's like saying, let's say India has deposited, or let's say Russia has deposited. Sanctions is one thing, freezing assets is another thing, or taking.
Okay, sir. Okay.
A sanction says that you cannot, if you trade oil, this is what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Here, it is like saying that Russia had some money in US bank. They said that money now belongs to us.
Okay.
It's like plain, you can say in colloquial UP term, if I come from Prayagraj, it's like typical gundagardi. This is, I'm
Okay.
your money
Mm.
because you are at war or your political situation is such that. Uh, so they seized the money, and therefore this got all the other countries worried, because India holds about $219 billion worth of US treasuries. The total treasuries held by foreigners is approximately $8 trillion, out of which 2 trillion is only held by China and Japan together.
Mm.
Which means that anytime if US,
They can.
they can just freeze it and say, sorry, we will not pay back. Now, seeing this, a lot of countries started diversifying their dollar denominated assets. China, which has been hostile to US over the last 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
has reduced its treasury holding from a peak of about $1.5 trillion, which is $1,500 billion, to now about approximately $750 billion.
Okay.
But if you cannot suddenly sell, because if you suddenly sell, then the value of those treasuries will go down.
Mm-hmm.
And chances are that it will hurt both but the parties, both China and the US.
Correct.
So they have been steadily selling over the last decade, and they have reduced their holdings by almost half. India has also done the same thing, but not, of course, to much smaller degree, because they held in the first place only 240 billion, which now they have reduced to about 219.
Mm-hmm.
Japan, for different macroeconomic reasons, will now be forced to sell treasuries.
Okay. This is how the dollarization is taking place.
Yes. So what is
Mm.
happening is all these dollars will slowly, ultimately start reaching the US.
Okay. Mm.
So what will happen to the US? The US, you will start seeing a lot of inflation.
All right.
All right.
Correct.
The second thing that has happened, and that's far more, and all this is having a very important impact. The US government is spending more than its capacity to repay.
Correct.
So what is happening is when they're issuing newer treasuries,
Mm-hmm.
they are required to pay a higher interest rate, because
Correct.
investors are demanding more for their
Mm.
uh, money.
Reserves. Correct.
So as your interest rate is being paid higher, we
Hmm.
have reached a situation where first time in US history, the interest payments on US debt exceeds the defense budget of the United States.
Okay.
That's why you are seeing, say, for example, America did not get into the war with Ukraine and they even withdrew their
Oh,
financial support because they realized that they are into a big mess with respect to their financial situation. So here comes the linkage with the gold,
gold. Yes. This is the bridging part of the gold.
precisely. Because
Hmm.
people now understand that the dollar could be at a risk of a significant devaluation, which has been the stated policy of Donald Trump.
Correct.
So if the dollar gets devalued, everybody will lose. All those foreigners who hold dollars
Hmm.
will lose money.
Uh,
They are slowly diversifying their assets into
Gold.
gold and silver.
Silver also is growing very fast.
I mean, in fact, if you look at China, they have been doing this for a long time. And
Hmm.
not only have they been doing this, they are amassing other commodities as well apart from gold and silver. So they amassed whole huge quantities of copper, whatever they could lay their hands on there, because they are realizing currency is not going to
Work anymore.
protect them for too long, right? It's not that everything is going to collapse in, say, the next 4 or 5 years, but
No.
start
They-
seeing increasing strain on the
Hmm.
US dollar's preeminent position in monetary affairs of the world. It will not be a currency of choice.
Correct. So this is how gradually we see the increase in the gold price, which is sharp growing, and silver also is very sharply taking market share as
Right.
come to dollars. So this is how the de-dollarization is gradually taking the turn. And so I had also read like there was something on AAA and AA, which US was holding long time back. They were
Right.
holding a AAA, this thing, and then became a AA. That also had impacted in their economy a lot, right?
So in the US or in every country, there are a rating system, which means there are supposedly independent agencies which rate and
Hmm.
say what is the quality of a debt of a particular country or a company,
Correct.
called credit rating agencies.
Hmm.
So there are several credit rating agencies in the preeminent credit rating agencies in the world. In US in particular, Standard and Poor's is one of them. In India, we have CRISIL. There's another one in US. I'm just forgetting the name. So there are a
Hmm.
couple of these preeminent rating agencies.
Hmm.
Another one is Fitch, FITCH.
Hmm.
So what happened? Something very interesting happened in 2012. Um, so, so the US dollar till that time was always considered the highest rated debt issued by any government in the world because it was very highly trusted.
Interesting.
Uh, and in the year 2012, analysts from I think Standard and Poor's, who happened to be an Indian,
Hmm.
reduced the rating by one notch, and he was almost fired from his job, and he had a pretty bad career ending as a result of taking this rather bold decision. If you look at it, the US debt should be much lower than uh, even the rating one below level below the highest, but this is what happened in 2012.
Correct.
Recently, another agency has reduced the rating of the US debt. And essentially, what it tells you is that investors will now demand higher
Dollars.
interest rates, which is already, as I told you, in force, which means first time you are seeing that the defense budget of America has been exceeded only by the interest payment.
That's right.
And they will finance this interest payment again by printing money.
Understand now, since everything that we are talking into a more of a international global geopolitics and everything, what are the things which a normal common man should take care of? See now, common men who are, I'm talking about exporters and importers, where the transaction currency has always been a dollar, and then there are people there. So what should be their way of looking at dollar and their mode of doing trade with other countries?
See, exporters and importers, they look at it a little differently. Let's say your global trading currency is US dollars. Let's say you buy oil.
Hmm.
Let's say India buys oil from Saudi Arabia and pays it in dollars.
Correct.
What happens? It has to go to a money changer, exchange the rupees for the dollars,
Hmm.
and then pay the Saudi Arabian entity.
Yes.
Now, there is a transaction charge associated with it, which is pretty high.
Nostro code, what we call it, right?
That's a bank account formulation. That's different.
Acha, there is
This
a
is just the exchange of money. Whenever you say you go to a money changer, let's say you're traveling abroad, you go to a money changer and you say, I need $1,000, you take out some money and give it to him, right?
correct.
So there is a small commission that this person makes, right?
Yes.
So exchange of currency, whenever you have to exchange the currency, it costs you a lot of money.
Okay.
So whenever, say, for example, if India is buying oil from Saudi Arabia, it has to change its uh, uh, dollars to
Right.
rupees to dollars. It will incur a certain cost. That cost is reasonably high.
Hmm.
So slow, and now here it is not just from a country perspective, it's not just an issue of the cost being high, which is very important though. The second thing that happens is that if I'm not able to trade in dollars without dollars, then my assets can be frozen at any point in time because I will hold dollars.
Mm.
If I hold dollars, this means I'm at the mercy of the US government. Tomorrow, supposing uh, India goes to war with Pakistan and America doesn't like it, it can say, I'm freezing all your dollars.
Ah,
Okay. So that's not a leverage any sovereign country like India would like to give to US.
correct.
They are exploring ways by
Mm.
which transactions can happen between, say, India and Saudi Arabia without resorting to the dollar.
Okay.
In the
Something.
case of UAE, for example,
Mm.
India had a 80 million equivalent 80 million US dollar deal where we bought oil and paid them in rupees.
Which recently happened. Okay. So now the countries are looking for a substitute currency basically to start trading. More or less, they will be trying to trade in their own currency, which if it is strong or that how the country is improving their financial status.
Exactly.
So that, like, if you say this way, like maybe few months down, years down the line, I can say, so it will be like dollar will be just as a normal currency, or there will be some other currency which will come up. Like BRICS also, they were trying to make a separate currency. Euro is a for European, it is euro. So something of that sort will happen in future. Do you think?
It can happen, but for now, what has happened is that China has also integrated their systems with BRICS countries and
Hmm.
launched what is called the Shanghai Gold Exchange,
Correct.
where they are trading with certain countries like Saudi Arabia and Iran.
Hmm.
One,
Hmm.
so Iran is desperate to sell their oil, and they also don't want to use dollars. China is buying those Iranian oil at a very low price and
Hmm.
paying them in yuan.
Correct.
But with the assurance, see, yuan itself is not a very worthwhile because it's not internationally traded that much.
Hmm.
Also, it is subject to whims and fancies of the Chinese government policy. Not many people prefer the yuan. So what they have done is to make it attractive. They said we will exchange the yuan
Hmm.
with an equivalent amount of gold. Whenever you want, we will exchange it at the price of gold, and you can convert that yuan into gold at the Shanghai Gold Exchange.
It goes back to the same old time where the exchanges were starting.
Yeah. But it's not taken off too much because only few countries are doing it.
Hmm.
Important part is that there is now a will, especially after the Ukraine war,
Hmm.
that nobody wants to be subjected to the whims of US foreign policy and financial architecture.
Correct. So this is how things are going in. So now I would also like to ask you, like, do you think that central bank digital currency will speed up de-dollarization?
It's not about central bank. See, what is speeding up de-dollarization is the lack of or relative lack of or circumventing trade in US dollars.
Okay,
So let me give you an example how India is trying to do it.
correct. That is very important for all of us.
So first is what they have done is certain countries like say Russian oil they bought without paying for dollars.
Hmm,
And ultimately they solved it by asking Russia to invest in all the rupees that we paid them back into India.
correct.
Uh, the second important thing that the government has done through the Reserve Bank is that they have allowed all importers and exporters to open what are called nostro accounts in India, which means
Hmm.
you can, let's say there's an exporter in India,
Hmm.
he can he will ask the person, the paying country, to pay us in rupees.
Okay.
And a foreign entity which is importing can open a rupee account without, earlier, to open a rupee account, you had to go to RBI, seek permission. There were 100 things you had to do.
Hmm.
All that they have now removed, which means any foreign entity which is importing products from India can open a rupee account in any bank, in at least in designated banks in India.
Okay.
So, so it's a step towards sidestepping the dollar
Hmm.
and seeking payments in rupees. As more and more people start, I mean, it's a long process, not going to happen overnight, but
Correct,
as
correct, correct.
more and more people start using the rupee itself will start floating in different countries. And to that end, one important step that our country has taken is, India has taken is, that it has started to insist on neighboring countries using the rupee, which means we will not use the dollar, we will use
The rupee.
the rupee. And plus integrating our payment exchange, which is UPI, etc., in several other foreign countries, like friendly countries like France, Singapore, Dubai, and so on.
Dubai में sir, like Beam card, everything has started off now. Very easy.
What most people may not know is that before 1971, rupee was a very popular currency in Dubai.
Yes, there was a big note which used to come.
It
And
all changed only after that due to
Mhm.
short-sightedness. But uh, so the important part is, I mean, and this is true for almost every sphere, that you don't let the global standards be designated by somebody else. Because if you let the global standard being designated by somebody else, that person will use that privilege to its own, or it can even weaponize it to its own advantage.
Correct, correct. So this is how, like, people now, this is what we understand, de-dollarization and gold linking, how it is coming, how people are working towards it, and seeing that their country should become financially strong and their currency should become more strong as compared to other currencies.
Precisely, especially the larger countries, because say China,
Correct.
Russia, India,
Hmm.
because I mean, today the combined GDP of the BRICS countries is much more than that of G7.
Correct.
So, so you have to evolve methods which are not necessarily hegemonic to one particular country like US.
So should people now start investing in like gold has become out of reach for many of the families. Should they start buying silver things now because silver can become very expensive in
Yes.
due
Yes.
course of time?
So that's a more of a portfolio thing.
Mm-hmm.
Gold, silver should be part of your portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to a normal financial advisor in the past, they would have said 5 to 10%.
Hmm.
Suggested now is about 20%
Okay.
of your portfolio should be held in, or could be held in. It's again
Hmm.
for educational purposes, not for decision making purpose.
Okay. So now, thank you very much, Manish ji, for giving so much of insight in detail. I'm sure everybody who will be listening to this show, they will try to rerun this recording again and again to understand how de-dollarization is happening and how it became strong. It took a strength, and again it come is trying to come down because of how the country's policies are working. So, Manishi, before we end, I would like to have a rapid fire with you so that we can look into certain things, and I'm sure we will see how it works out. Are you ready for it, sir?
Sure, please go ahead.
So, one thing lovers don't understand.
The dollar is a waning currency.
One thing Bitcoin lovers don't understand.
That nobody understands the why the Bitcoin should be so expensive and how it gets created.
Gold or real estate? What wins during chaos?
Gold.
Okay. One financial myth that irritates you.
Uh, that dollar is a safe haven asset.
Okay. If de-dollarization happens, the first global impact will be
The inflation in the United States.
UAE pegging of dollar strength or risk.
Can you repeat the question?
UAE peg the dollars. It is a strength or it is a risk.
Both.
Both it is there. One thing every 20-year-old must learn about money.
Savings and investments.
Will crypto replace currency in our lifetime?
No.
Are financial habits that changed your life?
Yes. Savings.
Dis- Describe the future of money in one word.
We have to describe the future of money in one word.
Hmm,
More of it.
more of it. Manishji, thank you very much. The way you made us understand the dollars, the rupee, and the international currency, how it is gaining popularity and how it is happening in. We are so obliged, and I'm sure like there will be people who would like to know more about the de-dollarization or investment part. I'm sure if it happens, we may again invite you for our show and we can try to understand more in detail also. Depend as per the questions will surely come to us and we'll surely call you back, sir. Maniji, it was so good to have you on the show that we are obliged that you took your time and came here, Manish ji. So I would like to thank everyone who will be watching this show for understanding details on the international currencies, the transactions, maybe a small export house to countries. And I'm sure everybody will have their questions. The questions are, you can write to us and we will be trying to answer it them. And if need may require, we will again invite Manish Agarwal ji to our show. Thank you very much, Manish ji. Thank you. Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Vishalji, for your very intense moderation and being the host of the show. Really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you, sir. Namaste, sir.
Namaskar.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all the viewers. Thanks once again. Thank you.